Hey guys, welcome back to Glam Finds, and today I'm actually here not with a fragrance review, but kind of just to talk about fragrance and talk about maybe a couple of tips, especially when you're new to the fragrance game or when you feel like you've hit a point where you have too many fragrances. This is just going to be me spitballing, giving you guys things that I've learned that may work for you, may not work for you, and some things that I already said that I was going to be talking about. I said it on Instagram a while ago, but I thought about it recently and I was like, you know what, let me do that. Take a day off from doing a fragrance review and kind of talk about that, because we did talk about overspraying, and I used to be an oversprayer, but I've kind of brought that down for a lot of reasons. First, I want to talk about how overspraying sometimes gives you the opposite effect. When you overspray a fragrance, sometimes because you've oversprayed it, you will go anosmic to it significantly quicker than had you not oversprayed it. And that is something that I realized with a lot of fragrances. And actually, I want to bring one specific one up because I did the review on this one and people kept commenting, I bought this and I can't smell it. You said it was strong. I can't smell it. You said it was strong. I can't smell it. Well, it's you, honey, because you oversprayed it. This is one that you actually don't need more than a few sprays of, and for the most part, you want to keep them out of your line of scent. So you kind of want to keep more on your sides than anywhere else. And Lattafa Ajazi is the one that seems to be really controversial. And the reason that that is because it is, the main thing in here is a molecule of ambroxan. And here's why I know that that is an issue. I make my own, I guess, molecule O2 mix with ambroxan crystals, okay? I went online, I did a lot of research on how to balance it out, how much of the ambroxan crystals to put in with the alcohol. And every site said, do not put too much in. So you actually put around 1% of the mix is the ambroxan crystals and the rest is alcohol. Some can go up to 2, maybe 3%, but nobody suggests going higher than that. Why? Because the more you put in there, the less you're going to smell. There's a very delicate balance. And if you don't believe me, you can go online. There's even YouTube videos about it. I watched a lot of YouTube videos. I like to watch a lot of videos before I start doing something. So there are certain things, the more you spray, the less you're going to smell. And that is why I don't really overspray anymore. I will spray maybe more than some. For a designer, I'll probably do 5 to 7 sprays. But now I don't really like spraying on clothes anymore. I prefer going on skin. So if I have to do 4 sprays around the back of my neck and a couple on my wrists, even if they're covered up with like my sweatshirt or something, or a long sleeve shirt, I'll do that. I don't love putting on clothes. I still do sometimes, but 1 or 2 sprays. When it comes to indie, I start with 3 sprays because I've done more and a lot of indie brands are super potent. So going more doesn't always work. But what I do notice is the more I spray of something, the quicker I go anosmic to it. So I stopped doing that specifically with certain molecule heavy fragrances. The other thing, I think we all kind of do this at the beginning of the game. We buy a lot of cheapies, which isn't bad. You can buy cheapies, but make sure when you're buying them, you're not buying a bunch that are really redundant. So if you like one, buy it, but make sure it's something you're going to use, because you don't need to build up a collection of just volume. So if you get a bunch of cheapies and at a certain point you think they're redundant, let's actually talk about that. Don't keep things if you're not using them. I know we like to keep things, but a couple of months ago, I started listing stuff that I didn't use on Mercari, and I've decluttered a pretty good amount right now, because a lot of the cheapies I love, don't get me wrong, but a lot I wasn't reaching for, and I probably will never reach for because I have something similar that I prefer. Now, I'm not saying don't give things a second chance. So if you smell something and you don't like it, definitely spray it on skin first, because spraying something on paper doesn't do anything. It means nothing, because that will probably be nowhere near what it's going to smell like on your skin. So spray it on skin. Maybe you don't like it, come back to it later. If you really don't like it and you know you're never gonna like it, list it immediately. I've made most of my money back on a lot of things by listing them. And most of the time, I can sell them within a day or two. Other thing that I've learned is don't listen to hype, because just because something's hyped does not at all mean that you're going to like it, and it doesn't mean that you don't already have something very similar that you prefer in your collection already. I've listened to the hype train so many times, and you know what? It doesn't usually work out because I don't have the same exact taste as everybody else, which kind of leads me into my next point. At the beginning of your fragrance journey, try to smell a lot of different fragrances. Not everyone's going to be able to pick out certain notes, but when you're smelling something, look at the notes that are in it, and then if you smell something else with similar notes, you're going to start distinguishing, okay, that's what the tea note smells like, that's what ambroxan smells like, this is what ISOE Super, I mean, these are molecules now, but this is what ISOE Super smells like, this is what vetiver smells like, in, you know, this form and in that form, and, you know, that way, if you do end up blind buying, which I'm not recommending, you're gonna get a little bit closer to blind buy successes, because you're gonna blind buy things with notes that you know you like because you've tested them so many times. For example, I love the note of tea. Every time I smell it, I can detect it immediately in a fragrance, and 90% of the time, if I buy something with the dominant tea note, it is a blind buy success for me, and I will immediately love it. I wish that in the beginning of this, I would have taken a little bit more time to distinguish what specific notes were notes that I knew I was going to like. Again, tea, I know I like tea, I know I like green apple, I know I love ambroxan. There's just a lot of notes that I know, for the most part, if it's gonna be heavy in that note, I'm really going to enjoy this fragrance. So slow down, figure out your style. Don't just keep blind buying with, you know, the hype train. The other thing, and I realized lately that I'm so lazy when it comes to this thing. If you are looking to buy designer fragrances, just go to the mall or Ulta or Sephora and smell them there before you buy them. It is so easy to go to the mall and smell stuff, and you don't have to even put it on a strip. If it's something that you're about to buy, just go spray it on your skin. They're not going to tell you not to. They might try to sell you something, but just say no. It's okay. They can't force you to buy anything. Spray it on your skin, and then wait. Spend at least, I would say, most of the day with it. See how it works on your skin, because how things work on my skin isn't going to be the same as how things work on your skin. See how it works, and then buy it. You didn't wait that long. You waited a day. You enjoyed the fragrance. Also, realize whether or not you enjoy it so much that you need an entire bottle of it. Speaking of entire bottles, let's segue into the next thing. For the most part, when I started this, I was decanting my bottles. So I would decant probably half of the bottle if I liked it. I would decant more than that if it wasn't a love for me. I just kept decanting because I didn't want to spend my hard-earned money on more bottles. I would rather spend money that I'm making from decants on it. And I don't even think I was selling them for profit. I was just selling decants kind of at cost with plus shipping to kind of break even, so I didn't have to keep all this juice. Because if you have a pretty vast collection, you're not going to use all of it. There's just absolutely no way, unless you're constantly just spraying, which again, you're gonna go anosmic because that's too many sprays. If what you want is not available at the mall, but you wanna smell something, look for people that sell affordable decants, and they're definitely out there. I definitely recommend that. I don't typically buy decants, but the other thing you can do, if you have a few nice bottles, you can trade decants with people. Just go on the Facebook groups. It's really not that hard. If you have decants that people want and they have decants that you want, you can just trade them so you can smell something prior to buying it. I've made mistakes. I mean, the first niche fragrance that I bought because of the hype. I blind bought Two Nose, and I didn't care for it initially. I ended up keeping it because I decanted most of the bottle, but I kept it and I wore it recently, 2 years later, and now I actually do like it because my taste changed. I kind of feel like the juice itself changed, which is normal. They change with time. And now I'm like, okay, I actually like this fragrance, but it probably would have been better had I picked up a decant and thought, right now in this part of my journey, I don't really need this bottle. I can buy something else. I bought another bottle that was really hyped and thought, I'm gonna love this. And guess what? I don't. And I bought the 100 ml. So it kind of happened to me, and I won't say it only happened twice. I kind of kept doing it. Not a ton of times, but it would have been really easy for me to look for a decant of it, and I probably could have gotten a pretty good deal on it, or traded somebody something that I had that they wanted. So try not to fall into the hype and then just blind buy everything, because you're not gonna like everything that other people like. That would be crazy. The next thing, and this I never did until recently, and if you follow me on YouTube and if you follow me on Instagram at all, you'll understand why this sounds crazy. Start exploring small indie houses, because right now, that's kind of the only thing I want to reach for in my collection, just because the quality is there, the potency is there, and they smell not only unique, but good. And the reason I'm saying, you obviously know where I'm at right now with this. If you're on IG, I'm hosting an event in the Los Angeles area this April. It's a 3-day event. I have so far 7 indie brands coming out to sell their fragrances, so you can actually go out and smell them before you buy them. Look at that. Isn't that crazy? And there's going to be a bonfire on the beach. There's going to be a black tie event. There's food is included. It's at a cute little boutique hotel. If you're interested in that, I'm going to link it down below. I actually haven't talked about it on YouTube at all before today, but I thought since I'm talking about these indie brands, let me go ahead and talk about that. Again, I'll drop it down below. If you have any questions about it, contact me. You can contact me on here, but it's easier if you just email me or shoot me a message on Instagram. My Instagram handle is linked down below always. But what I realized with these indie brands is I prefer them. I like the scent more. I like the potency more. You can buy a 30 ml and it will last you forever because you only need a few sprays. The compliment factor is higher. I just prefer them. And they're a lot more affordable when you think about the concentration. The concentration of these brands is typically a lot higher than you're getting from not only designer, but a lot of big brand niche. So explore small houses. I really don't know why I didn't explore them. I think I was really like, you know, I'm so used to designer up until now. And one day I just kind of fell onto one. It was actually Kirk Elliott on Instagram, and I just started exploring him after that because I liked what he had to offer so much that I just kept kind of diving down that rabbit hole, and so far, no fails. That is like really insane too. And it's a lot easier to trade things that are indie because people want to try those. They're not as easy to get versus a designer. You just walk into any mall and poof, it's right there. The other thing, and I know I'm the guiltiest one of doing this, and now I only do it for the channel, and to be honest, I don't do it as much. Don't just buy a ton of fragrances at once because you aren't really giving yourself a chance to enjoy them. You're wearing them, but you're not enjoying them. Buy something, give yourself a fragrance budget or a fragrance allotment. So budget is more like a financial term. Allotment, you can buy 2 fragrances a month or something like that. Buy them, enjoy them, decide, do I love them so much that I want to keep them in my collection, or is this something that I'm going to try to sell a little bit later down the line? I wish that I would have done that because I feel like at the beginning I was buying a lot. Now, it didn't affect me as much because I've always been money oriented, so I was decanting pretty much from the very beginning. And when I really didn't like something, I just sold it, and I still do that. And now every once in a while, I'll kind of go through my collection, which I'm looking at now. That's what I'm staring out to the audience. I'll go through my collection and think, what have I not worn recently? Am I gonna wear it soon? If the answer is no, I grab it, I go find the box, and I immediately list it. And again, it is really not hard to sell things. For the most part, I've been able to get things out of my house within a couple days after listing them. And that frees up that money. Now, obviously, it's a little different if you review fragrances, because I know a lot of people do that, whether here or on IG, because a lot of people review fragrances on IG. Sometimes you need to buy a little bit more, but now when I buy them, they don't stay in the collection. If they're not worthy of staying, they will not stay. I will review it and list right when I walk out of this room. It's really easy, especially if you list immediately. So you're not listing like 40 things in one day. You're listing, you know, I wore this one, I reviewed this one, I don't care for it. Next. I do want to quickly talk about clones. Sometimes it is cheaper to buy a clone of a very high-end fragrance versus buying a sample of that high-end fragrance. Now, if you have smelled something, because you can go to big stores like Bergdorf Goodman's or Bloomingdale's and smell something, and you'll know, oh, I really like this. So you can buy a clone. They're pretty inexpensive. Try it. Do I like it as much? Do I not like it as much? Sometimes the clone is something that somehow you're gonna like a little bit more than the OG. That has happened. I'm gonna say it happened to me. You guys already know I like things balanced with fresh. Clones typically have a higher concentration than originals, not always, but typically. And the way that they work is a lot of times their top note will last longer. So for me, there are a couple clones that I have that I had bought the OGs because I liked the clone so much, sold the OGs because they didn't have that same balance of freshness. So yeah, they were similar, but the freshness in my clones lasted longer, so I preferred them. Now, there are some clones that I have that I like, and then I try the OG and I'm like, okay, I do like this clone, but I like the OG more. That is okay. Just remember, you're buying the juice, not the bottle. If you like the clone as much as the original, just use the clone. Heck, use the clone, and when you're done, if you like both, if you like the original that much, buy the original. It's really not that big of a deal. Unless you're a collector. I'm not one, and I've told you guys a million times, I'm not a collector. I really don't care about my bottles. I think presentation is nice, but what's inside the bottle I care about a lot more. And for the most part, when I go out into the wild and people ask me what fragrance I'm wearing, if it's not a designer, they don't know anyways, and they don't care. They just think I smell nice. So when I'm wearing a dupe, they have no idea. They're just like, oh, you're probably wearing something expensive, which they do say, by the way. When they don't really recognize the DNA, that's what they say. And actually, for the most part, when they say that, I'm actually wearing indie or a clone that's really potent, but it's typically a clone of something that is really expensive. So people that are not in the fragrance community, which I have a feeling you guys aren't surrounded by members of the fragrance community anyways on a daily basis, can't recognize the difference. So if it's a clone that you like, rock it. It's not a big deal. Like, you don't have to feel bad about wearing a clone. So if you guys have any questions, or if you have any comments about anything that I've discussed today, drop them down below. If you have any questions if you want to start like a dialogue with me, shoot me a message on Instagram. I always respond. And if you've messaged me before, you know I'll normally have like a pretty long conversation with you. I am a chatty Cathy in real life. As always, thank you guys for watching. Remember to like this video if you liked it, be subscribed to my channel, hit that notification bell to get notified when I drop a new video, and I will see you guys on the next one. Bye!